What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Gary McKenzie back with you again for another episode of Gridiron Lines. This is RGR Football. In today's video, I'm going to talk about something and I'm going to say something that I don't think anyone else is saying. And that is that I do not think Patrick Mahomes' competition in the AFC is as rough as everyone else is saying, all the other pundits. The reason I'm saying that is because of the 16 teams in the AFC, only 2 of them have a quarterback on their roster who has won a Super Bowl. So it's not like Patrick Mahomes is having to go up against Tom Brady. In fact, Patrick Mahomes is the Tom Brady of this era. The only 2 teams that have a starting quarterback with that has won a Super Bowl are the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson and the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers, and you can punch holes in both of those teams. You've got Russell Wilson, who played last season and did not play very well at all. There's signs that maybe he's starting to have hit the tail end of his career, but I'm interested to see what Sean Payton can do to turn that around. And then you have Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, who's heading into his 16th season as a starter, and he's an older quarterback. And the same offensive mastermind that basically threw Russell Wilson in the ditch last year is going to be leading the attack for the Jets. Now, Aaron Rodgers and Hackett have a history. They've had success in the past, so maybe those 2 can figure it out. But there's the 2 quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl in the AFC have, a lot of question marks around them. And then you've got other teams with up-and-coming quarterbacks who have not won a Super Bowl yet. And, the jury's still out on them. I went ahead and I broke down each of these teams into how competitive I think they'll be next season. So I broke out the crayons. I did some coloring for you guys. And here are the groups. So I have the following 7 groups in the AFC. A top dog team, the true contenders, intriguing teams, teams where the window might be closing, teams that don't have a chance, in my opinion, one team I don't care about, and then we have a section specifically for the Chargers. So starting with the top dog, we have the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is heading into the prime of his career. He has Andy Reid as a head coach. He has 5 years of experience. He has an 800 win percentage in the regular season, which leads all of these quarterbacks. And then lastly, he has almost an 800 win percentage in the playoffs, which leads all these quarterbacks. And there's only one other quarterback that is remotely close. He has the most Super Bowls out of all these teams, out of all these quarterbacks. And so Patrick Mahomes right now is the undisputed top dog in the AFC. And Nick Wright thinks the Chiefs might have a three-peat in them. And I'm kind of leaning that direction too, because the nucleus of this team is still intact. It's going to be intact for the next few seasons. And the experience of these quarterbacks in the AFC is just not there. I know that a lot of pundits will say that the AFC has the best quarterbacks, the best teams, and while I do agree that the AFC does have the better quarterbacks, they're all young and they're unproven. And how many quarterbacks have we seen over the years have a promising start to their career and, never win a Super Bowl or have their career flame out? Dante Culpepper started his career amazingly well and then had some injury issues and then was never the same. You had another player like Michael Vick, incredibly talented player, never won a Super Bowl. So there's a lot of, just because a quarterback is really good, really talented, doesn't automatically guarantee that they're going to win a Super Bowl. What really matters is who's their head coach, what is the rest of the organization like around that quarterback, and do they have that it factor? Out of all these teams, I only think that 2 of them currently have that it factor. One of them is the Chiefs, and the other one is what I've labeled as a true contender, and that's the Bengals. And the reason I say that is because Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow, they're both within their first 5 years of working together. And the reason I say that is because no head coach and quarterback pairing has won a Super Bowl after their 5th year together if they did not win one already. So we'll touch on that in a little bit. But Joe Burrow's win percentage in the playoffs is really why I think they're a true contender, and they're really the Chiefs' top competition for getting back to the Super Bowl and winning another Super Bowl, because Joe Burrow has gone 5-2 in the playoffs for a 714 win percentage. That's the closest to Mahomes. Mahomes is 11-3 in the playoffs. That is just ridiculous. You don't see that. And so I think that because of Mahomes' third down playmaking ability, and the Chiefs' overall leadership from top to bottom, starting with Clark Hunt and Andy Reid and Brett Veach, they're going to be a perennial Super Bowl contender for as far as the eye can see. The only team that can kind of wreck that, in my opinion, this season in 2023 are the Bengals with Joe Burrow. Next, I have teams that are intriguing. And these are teams that, I want to see how the first 8, 9, 10 games of the season go for these teams, and then I'll be able to have a better idea of where they may go. And some of them I think are more likely to be successful than others. I'll start with the team that I think is most likely to be successful out of these 4 teams that I've picked as intriguing options, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars play in a weak division. They have a Super Bowl winning head coach. They have a quarterback who is on the upward trajectory in Trevor Lawrence, and they won a playoff game last year. They came back from a huge deficit. So I think the Jaguars could be poised to surprise some people next season, and they're a team that I really have my eye on. The next team that I think is most likely to have a surprise success, maybe to have a push in the playoffs, are the Miami Dolphins. So Mike McDaniel, I think, is a really bright head coach, very smart, very cerebral. And Tua Tagovailoa at the quarterback position, if he can stay healthy, I think he's somewhat underrated. They're also within their first 5 years working together. And so I have the Dolphins as the second most likely intriguing team to do well. Next, I have the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. We already talked about them. I think Robert Saleh is a good head coach, defensive-minded, and that should pair well with Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see after the first, 8, 9, 10 games of the season where the Jets are at, and whether or not they're going to be a contender, or if Aaron Rodgers maybe had one too many trips out in the desert and he's just on the tail end of his career, and he's kind of fading out. And then lastly, I have the Broncos. I find them intriguing because Sean Payton is one of the great minds in NFL football. And if anyone can turn Russell Wilson around, it might be him. I kind of lean towards Russell Wilson's production was boosted by Pete Carroll, because look what Geno Smith did last year. Played very well, played at a Pro Bowl caliber level of play. And I wonder maybe if it was Pete Carroll that had Russell Wilson playing so well, and it wasn't necessarily Russell Wilson. We'll see what Sean Payton can do. I have them as the least most likely to have a successful season, but they are intriguing to me. The next one I have are teams where the window is closing. So you know how I mentioned that head coach and quarterback pairings who don't win a Super Bowl when they're within their first 5 years don't end up winning one. They've never won one after the first 5 years together in NFL history. And we'll start with the Buffalo Bills. So Buffalo Bills, excellent team. Josh Allen's great quarterback. But next season is going to be the 6th year that those two have been together, and they haven't won a Super Bowl yet. So I think the window is closing for the Buffalo Bills. In the same light, you have the Baltimore Ravens. John Harbaugh, awesome head coach. Lamar Jackson, awesome quarterback. But next season is going to be their 6th year together. They haven't won a Super Bowl yet. So I think the window is closing for both the Bills and the Ravens. And then the Titans, with Ryan Tannehill and Mike Vrabel, they haven't been together for, 5 seasons. But Ryan Tannehill is kind of hitting the tail end of his career. And it feels like the door is closing in Tennessee. They had a good run. I still think they're going to be a good team. They'll compete with the Jaguars, but I think the window is closing for them as well. And then I have 5 teams where I don't think there's any chance that they make a push in the playoffs. That's the Patriots with Belichick and Mac Jones, the Steelers with Mike Tomlin and Kenny Pickett. I think that the Steelers could potentially make the playoffs because Mike Tomlin is that good of a head coach, but I cannot see them making that much noise in the playoffs. Next, you have the Colts with rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson. Very talented player, very athletic, but that's going to be a rough first season for the rookie quarterback. Same thing for the Texans. The organization's in disarray. C.J. Stroud might be the starting quarterback. I think that's probably who they're going to go with. and I don't think they have a chance. And then lastly, you have the Raiders with Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Josh McDaniels is going to run the Raiders into the ground just like he did for every other team he coached. Jimmy Garoppolo has an impressive 40-17 record as a starter, but I don't think that's how it's going to go in Las Vegas for him. I think that, his head coach in San Francisco had a lot to do with that. And then nextly, I want to talk about the Chargers. I made my own category for the Chargers because Justin Herbert is awesome. I mean, just watch him play. He's incredible. But for some reason, he only has a .510 win percentage, and he's 0-1 in the playoffs. The Chargers are completely wasting Justin Herbert's talent, and I think part of that kind of falls on Brandon Staley. And so they have their own category where the Chargers are just charging. I gave them their own group. And then lastly, team I don't care about are the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson, their starting quarterback. And, I'm not going to root for this team. I don't even want to give them any time and put them in any category. I legitimately don't care. So that's how I feel about the Browns. Do not support their decision to sign Deshaun Watson. And then Deshaun Watson's press conference the other day, basically trying to make himself out to be a victim. It was disgusting to me, and I just cannot stand that behavior. So this is my overall outlook on the contenders who I think are intriguing, teams I don't think have a chance. And then the window is closing for some of these teams, and it may have already closed. So I think that of these teams, the Chiefs' top competition is the Bengals. And right now, I don't think that from, based in experience and head coach quarterback pairings, I don't think there's any other team other than the Bengals that can compete with the Chiefs. This is the Chiefs conference, and it's going to be that way for the foreseeable future. But I want you to tell me in the comments what I got wrong. Do you think there's a team I labeled in the wrong group? Where would you put these teams? Do you think I'm maybe underplaying the teams in the AFC and maybe underestimating them, saying that I don't think that the competition is as tough as everyone's saying it is? Let me know in the comments. And as always, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're here trying to get 30,000 subscribers, doing our best. So any subscribers that join us really help us try to get to our goal of 30,000. And then if you like, it helps the algorithm show other people on YouTube Chiefs content if they want to see it. But that's all I got to say. I really appreciate the time. Let's go for an injury-free training camp. I heard the news about Kadarius Toney. That's unfortunate. And it looks like Rashee Rice had a good practice today. So hopefully that front continues. But that's all I got. This is Gary, RGR Football, signing out. It's been a treat.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.